At Speedway 660.
Top four have a little bit of distance in between them. The 83 of Cory Hall clicks off. One more lap. Slaughter White in second, Snell in third, Messer in fourth, and Chris Reed, your top five. And on the lead lap, sticks in the air from Tim Elliott. 2 laps to go for Cory Hall.
You said it, Tim. This will be the biggest win of this young man's career. Around 3 and 4, White, Silk in the air, take us home.
Cory Hall sees the white flag first. Final lap for Cory Hall down the back straightaway. He's won some big races in his career. He's won some big races this year in the Pro Stock, but this, by far, is going to be the biggest. From Jolicoeur, New Brunswick, Cory Hall wins the Remax 250. Slaughter White and Snell, your top three. We'll go down trackside and chat with your top three finishers. What a show. Danny Chisholm first over, Ethan Hicken.
Andrew did a nice job with them.
I handed him a few of my old ones so he could do episodes.
What a performance from Cory Hall. Over $20,000 in the bank. He's out of the car. I can hear you now, Cory Hall. You're a winner in a 250. Absolute domination in this race. How did you do it?
First of all, I got to thank King Racing and all the awesome people on my pit crew that came out today to help me out. Man, I'm kind of out of breath, Tim. I don't know what to say. This has been one I've had circle for a very long time. You know, since I was coming here in a bando racing on Speed Weekend. I thought.
Where's Tim Terry? I think he's on Broadway or something. So we've stolen the car from him. We carjacked him, and now he's out in the cold somewhere else. Welcome to TCM Live, episode 49. We're coming up on the year mark, Denver, for this. I'm Dylan Langell with Denver Match It, and Greg McKay, where are you from here? You're back with us for a bit.
Just filling in.
Just getting the hot tag, as they say in wrestling.
Yeah, I'm social media tonight, so don't bother me.
Before we check in with all our guests, we got a heavy hitter lineup again with Cory Hall and Tayler Albert a little later on. We're going to talk some street stock racing and Oyster bed and maybe some umpiring for baseball. Greg, how was Christmas? How was the holidays? And are you getting the bug to get back at the racetrack maybe?
Yeah, Christmas was awesome. Lots going on around here and cannot wait to get back racing. I'm excited for Speed Week's coming up this week. Daytona's coming up. The Clash. Can't wait for football to be over.
Football? Who are you rooting for? Who's your team?
My team went home a couple weeks ago, but I'll go for the Bengals this time.
Yeah, I think we're all hopping on the bandwagon for the Bengals. At least I am. Denver, we saw each other last night. So I know how you're doing, but maybe things changed in the past 24 hours. What's going on? You're still a Haligonian here temporarily.
We're still temporarily in the big city until tomorrow because we have to try to beat some sort of storm. Mother Nature can go away. I'm ready for summer. All this snow just sucks. But anyways, we're going to talk some racing tonight and pretend that it's summer because, we had another busy news week, Dylan. Lots of schedules coming out and that anticipation for the 2022 season just keeps building and building.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I can see Tim is watching. I think he's at a layover in Newark or something. So he says, don't wreck my car. So I want to say hey to Tim. He's having himself a little vacation down in the US of A. But yeah, you talk about schedules. It's funny, the show that Tim's not on, we've got a lot of schedules to talk about. I guess we'll start with the Maritime League of Legends. Their 2022 schedule is out, Denver. And, looks like we got some heavy hitter races coming up here. Of course, some tagged on with the Pro Stock Tour, but it's going to be another fun season for that Legend division, right?
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun season. It's another one of those divisions. Lost the 2020 season from COVID, was able to put together a pretty decent season last year, all things considered, even with late starts and whatnot. And hopefully it's back to business as usual in 2022 and a full schedule of events. What is there, like 10 or 11 races, I think, on tap, Dylan? Double header at Speedway 660 for Speed Weekend, plus the season opener at Speedway 660. A pair of races at Petty, a pair of races at Scotia. July gets bookended by Oyster Bed Speedway, both on Pro Stock Tour dates. It's definitely a busy schedule. Of course, IWK 250 weekend. That's always a staple for the Maritime League of Legends. Lots of excitement, to come from the Legends Tour in 2022.
Yeah, I'm looking at this schedule right now, and it does look very good. Craig McDonald, the defending champion of the Maritime League of Legends, I'm sure is going to have his hands full with many competitors going at him, and looking forward to this 2022 schedule, which you can see on screen. And as mentioned, from Denver, they're starting with 2 races in New Brunswick, Speedway 660, the May 29th weekend, which, that's kind of the opening weekend really for a lot of the tracks in the Maritime. 660 starts on May 15th, Petty Raceway, Riverside for the opening date, Oyster Bed twice in the month of July. And I think did we joke? Was it last week? It's almost kind of like Pocono with NASCAR back in the day where they're at that track pretty close together, right?
Absolutely. Just like that, I think for years and years and years, Pocono would be like the first weekend of July and then at the end of July. And that's exactly what it is for Oyster Bed Speedway this year, but not just for the League of Legends, but also for the Maritime Pro Stock Tour. And, after we're looking back, 2019 was the last time that the Pro Stock Tour made it to PEI, and I know the Legends had a trip over last year, but to have everything back on the same card, Dylan, it's going to hopefully feel kind of normal, I guess, if we can get so fortunate in 2022. And lots of big races. The drivers love to win the Speed Weekend races. That's always a big deal. And of course, the IWK 250. Riverside used to pick up, that was probably the biggest field of cars for Legends consistently, upwards of 25 to 30 Legends cars. So that is going to be quite a show when they get back on the high banks for that weekend.
Yeah, going to be a star-studded cast, I'm sure, with all the drivers. And speaking of a star-studded cast, we also had the list of the new executives or returning executives, whatever way you want to put it. But a good crew as we'll bring on screen here with Paul, our producer. Got to say hi to Paul, who's always with us with Vidane TV. But there you can see Jason Foster, the president of the Maritime League of Legends. Jonathan Bowlby, the VP of Race Directing, VP of Tech Decking. Technical direction, Trevor McDonald. Daryl Marr is going to be the VP of Finance, VP of Marketing and Sponsorship. Vacant. That's kind of like the guy who holds a championship sometimes, right, Paul? Vacant? Best transitional champion. Tim Terry, Double T is going to be the secretary. Craig Langell and Scott Hall are the member at larges. So that is the executives for the Maritime League of Legends. And Denver, hold on. We're not done. There was another schedule drop yesterday too, correct?
That is correct. And it's a New Brunswick-based series that dropped the schedule. It's been rumored for a couple weeks now. It's the Atlantic Modified Tour's 2022 schedule. Dylan, a big season for the Mighty Modifieds. This is their 20th season of competition. Hard to believe already. 20 years for this division. They're going to kick off the season just like they did last year at Petty Raceway on the 21st of May. And hit every track in the province of New Brunswick at least once throughout the year with 4 in Miramichi, 4 at Petty, 3 at 660. Of course, headlined by the doubleheader on Speed Weekend. Lots of divisions like to do those doubleheader, Speed Weekend being one of the biggest weekends of the year. And it just so happens we have the defending winner of the Pro Stock 250 coming up. But and then the return to the Center for Speed, the first time since 2014, we're going to see the Modifieds in Shediac.
Yeah, it's very cool to see that the Atlantic Modified Tour is going to be at the Center for Speed. You can see on the screen October 8th. And then they'll have a for fun race basically on the Friday of Speed Weekend, kind of their opener night, if you will. And Dave Oblinas, the defending race champion of that for fun race there. But and you said it before, Denver, with Miramichi, you guys have the demo stuff. You do have the bomber division. But if there's an equivalent to a pro stock tour coming there, it's the Atlantic Modified Tour. That is their home track, kind of like a Scotia Speed World is for the tour.
Absolutely correct, Dylan. Speedway Miramichi, I believe, in 2021, it was the only track in Atlantic Canada that did not contest any form of late model racing. So without any late models, the modifieds and the street stock step up in terms of stock car racing. Of course, the demo is also the big leagues, I guess. But 2 different shows. And the modifieds really headline those stock car shows alongside the street stocks. And, 4 big races. Chris Wilson is the defending track champion in Miramichi. We will be crowning a track champion again in 2022. Travis Conroy was the defending tour champion. Talk about a young kid with lots of promise, lots of potential, and he's looking for even more big things. But, Miramichi brings out the best of the modifieds, as does Petty and 660. And we can't wait to get back to Shediac. But, really looking forward to what's to come. I know there's some new drivers preparing to take to the track this year, and lots of work going on behind the scenes. That crew always does a great job, and excited to see what they have planned for their 20th anniversary.
I think we can bluntly say it. It's going to be an exciting season, no matter if it's with the League of Legends or the Atlantic Modified Tour, no matter what. To see those schedules for the Atlantic Modified Tour and the Maritime League of Legends, you can head to timscorner.ca and find out really all the information you need to know around racing coming up here in 2022. So I mentioned a bit before that Tayler Albert is going to be joining us shortly. He's watching with us right now. He's going to be watching our next interview, but we'll talk a little OBS and some street stock racing. He made a couple of starts at Petty last year, I remember. And we'll also have Greg McKay answering your questions on social media. So feel free to ask away. And I'm sure this next guy, Denver, is going to bring a lot of questions, because this guy is going down to the Sunshine State to try his hand at the World Series of Asphalt at New Smyrna Speedway. Driver of the number 83 car for Cory Hall Racing, the defending and reigning Remax 250 champion at Speedway 660. We're going to bring on here, if I can get my own screen to work here, because you know what, Denver? Zoom is acting up for me here. I'm trying to get my screen to get a bit bigger here.
We love technology.
And I was leading up here so quick for Cory. There we go. Finally, I'm going to start that over again. The reigning, defending champion of the Remax 250 and driver the number 83 for Cory Hall Racing. Cory Hall is with us again, and we'll get your video started here. Cory, I can see that number 83 is looking pretty good. How are you? How's winter treating you?
It's been good, busy. Just trying to get everything in order. But just incredibly excited and humbled to have everything that's been going on as of late. It's been what seems like a long but short road. It's been a while trying to make everything come to fruition, but it's been short for the amount of time that we've had to make it happen. So I'm just kind of blown away to even be in a position to be going to Florida to race a late model, let alone the World Series. So I can't wait.
And I want to thank you again, Cory, for coming on here. When I messaged you and said, hey, would you like to come on? I figured he's got to be on the plane or getting ready to go to Florida here, but we really appreciate it. Then you sent me a photo right after saying, here's the car. I'm still working on it here. And Cory, I remember when you won that legend race at Sydney Speedway back in October, we were chatting before and you were saying, yeah, I'm thinking about doing the World Series of Asphalt in New Smyrna. And then when you won the race, we talked about it a bit after. And then the news came out last week that you're going down with all the snowbirds down there and to work on your tan, but most importantly, to try and get some experience down in Florida, maybe win a race or two. So how did this all come together to get the number 83 for your team down to New Smyrna?
Well, I think if you take back 3 years ago when we first went down with Austin, I sat there and I said, I want to do this. This is cool. This track's cool. This event's cool. If I'm ever going to get better at these late models, this is what I need to do. And I never really thought that it was an option or anything that was going to happen, and nor did I think we were going to have the year that we did, honestly. So it all started with getting this car and working through 2 years ago, and then we took the off season and just really I worked a lot on my driving, talked to a lot of people, watched a lot of video, tried to learn more and kind of put to use, what I learned from being a rookie the year before and had a strong year. So then we were on a streak of where it felt like we couldn't be stopped. And when we got the Remax 250 win, that was when it all kind of was like, holy, what it's, to do that was amazing. And then, right then and there I said, okay, next move, I got money now. So I'm going to go to Scotia and race. And, the more money we have, the more racing we do. So we did that, but we happened to be at the Mike Stevens and I think it was in between practices, and I was hanging out with Troy Burke and his crew. And they said to me, well, what are you going to do with all this money? I said, well, I'm going to go race in Scotia and I'm going to put it back into the car and upgrade some parts and get some new stuff, and try to keep getting better. And they said, well, what's your bucket list race? I said, well, obviously New Smyrna. And they said, well, if you go, we'll get you a couple sets of tires. And then, a couple other people spoke up, oh, we'll get you a couple sets of tires. And then I left the trailer and I'm kind of thinking, okay. So then that race went awful. And then we went to Scotia and had a good race and just continue to talk to people and, kind of threw the idea out there to a couple people and just kept getting the answer. Yeah, we'll get you a couple sets. Yeah, we'll get you a couple sets. And then it just snowballed to where I sat down, budgeted it all out, and I said, I think we can do this. And between sponsorship we've gotten for tires and fuel and all that, and money I had left over from 660, here we are, ready to go.
When did you make the final decision? We're doing this. Book it. We're going.
Well, Dad was looking at, first I mentioned it to him and he gave me a look and said, oh yeah, as if, yeah, that's not going to happen. And so at that point I was like, he's probably right, but then I told him, I said, well, this is what we got for sponsorship if we do go. And he said, okay, well, maybe it is something we can do. So then he started looking at houses down there to rent for the week. And I believe he booked one in November. And that's when we said, we are 70% committed. So, there's always still, you're still able to cancel and all that. But I would say, yeah, probably December, end of December, we said, yeah, let's do it. We got enough funding and stuff that we can make it work. So.
We are live and interactive on social media. Greg McKay, the super sub, is going to be answering questions to bring over to Cory here. And we'll throw it to Denver in just a second. But I'll steal one from Greg because I saw it pop up. Stacy Clemens is watching. Cory, big fan of yours. And he says, how would you feel about taking his number 72 Junior Hanley tribute around Riverside? Because that car could boogie. But he says he's old, so he doesn't want to push it too far.
Well, that would be amazing. Being the age I am and not growing up in the stock car background, I'm not super familiar with, Junior Henley's legacy and the things, or all of the things he's done, but it's still really cool to me to see and hear stories. Rolly speaks incredibly highly of him and everything he's done. And I've heard tremendous stories of everything the Junior's done and they've done together. So that would be incredibly cool to drive a throwback car to him, and as well as it being Stacy's car. So yeah, I seen that thing go around the racetrack, and I can assure you, I'm sure it does move.
That was the world's longest, maybe, or yes.
yes, I will.
So leave your questions for Cory. He's an open book right now, and a guy that's going down to Florida here real soon. But Denver, I'm sure, to use a Tim Terry term, I'm sure the wheels are spinning in your head here. What do you got for Cory early on here?
Oh, I have lots for Cory, especially with all the news coming up. What's to come? First of all, Cory, I want to ask you, is there any pressure going down there? We've seen a lot of our Maritime drivers head down south and find success. The Butcher brothers have done exceptional in the Snowball Derby weekend, and Nicholas Noggle has a win or two at the World Series, and it seems like everyone that's gone down lately has excelled. Does that add any pressure to you going down to represent the region?
I mean, of course, that's a big thing for everybody that comes from here. I think, you look at the Maritimes, it's one of the most competitive regions in all of North America, and I'm incredibly proud when we go down and have the success. It's always great to see Cole and Nick, and then even on the Legends side, when we went down and Braden's had success, and myself, and it says a lot for the drivers that we produce from around here and the competition level that we have. But for as far as extra pressure, I don't think there's really anything that could put more pressure on me than I do myself. But it's never a pressure of I have to win. It's a pressure of I have to perform at the best of my ability, and I don't like to settle for less. And obviously, winning is always the objective. But this whole trip is for me to learn. And while we had a phenomenal year, I still feel like a rookie. I feel like I make rookie mistakes, and there's times where I'm just not experienced enough, and I feel like this is the best way for me to try to shorten the curve as much as I can.
Have you gotten a chance to look at the entry list for the World Series yet?
I have.
So
yeah. I was looking at it, and I was like, okay, 20 cars, that's respectable, and I thought that's good. And then a couple of days ago, maybe it was just yesterday. A couple of days ago, I looked, and I looking at the list. I'm like, oh, that's long. So I counted it all out. I'm like, 32. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's grown immensely, and I think that's probably one of the biggest fields that they've had in recent years. Is there any names on the list that catch your eye?
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of strong competition. I mean, there's a lot of name drivers, but as well as name crew and car owners and whatnot. Obviously, Derek Griffith's going to be tough when he runs. I don't believe he's running the full 7 nights, but I think he's going to run the 100. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a strong field. I'm not sure how they're going to do uh, uh, who gets to race, because I believe it's only 28, but I'm not sure. But we'll see how that goes. I'm sure there's not going to be 32 every night, but certainly for the 100, it'll be a tough field.
A lot of people have said before, and this kind of goes with what you said about trying to be a better driver. They say that this weekend, or this whole week, I should say, whether you're going down for Legends Nationals or the World Series, it's so valuable because there's so much racing. It's almost half of what we run in a full season in the Maritimes, all spread out over 1 week. I think you guys got what, 5 or 6 35-lap races, and then the 100-lapper to cap it all off. What do you think of the format? What do you think of the schedule? And what are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's what we've always tried to do when we were racing Legends and got the opportunity to go down. And I feel like it helps every driver. And I was actually just, when I was picking up the decals, I was over at Aiden Christian's father's, and that's what I was talking to him about was, the going down is huge for a driver, and especially at a young age. But more importantly from around here, because, you only get the summer. And in my case, I ran 7 races last year, right? So I'm about to go run 7 more in the span of a week and a half. So that's huge, right? But it's all interesting to me because I come from a Legends background when 25 lap features on a weekly show is normal and 50 laps is a long race. So this is kind of fits right into my Legend car experience, but it's been 2 years of trying to train myself to have tires left at the end of 150. So it'll be interesting to see how to manage those races versus the difference around here and tire conservation and all that. And it's a different tire as well, rather than a Hoosier 1070, it's a Hoosier F45. So certainly a lot better sidewalls, a lot more grip, a lot more speed. So that'll all be different for me as well to try to wrap my head around, as well as being the size of the racetrack. It's huge. And then I've never run anything that size. So I look forward to that.
That was actually going to be my next question, is how do you adapt to a track? It's a half-mile track. We don't have anything that big in the Maritimes. And I dare say maybe the closest comparison could be Riverside, but even still, much bigger, going to be a lot faster. How are you anticipating adapting to it? How important is all that practice going to be leading up to it?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be key for me to try to get my head wrapped around it. But I think I've often said that, speed is always relative to size. And I think when you have a track that's that big and has that much space, I understand it funnels down pretty quick come the corners, but it's still pretty big. And I think you kind of lose that sense of speed when you have that type of size of track. Often you find like a track like Sydney feels so fast because it's constant. There's not a lot of straightaway time. You're constantly fighting the car over bumps, and it feels faster by times because everything's happening so fast. But I was actually just talking to Rolly about it, and he said, like, the amount of time you're going to have to think down the straightaway is going to be mind-blowing. So that'll be interesting.
I see some messages of support coming through on social media. Before I throw it over to our buddy Greg McKay, I want to ask you, 7 nights of racing, they crown a champion. For you, what's the goal? What are you going to be satisfied with when it's all said and done?
Progress. If I feel like I come out of there with better skills and more experience, I think that's the whole reason I'm going. Jonathan's been teasing me saying that 3 wins is the minimum. But we'll see how the week plays out. I know there's a lot of stiff competition, and certainly will be interesting to see how we stack up with, like I said, different tire, different rules, different everything. So that'll be different, and I'll be interested to see where we stack up on practice day.
Greg, you still alive over there?
Yeah,
All good?
yeah. Had a small tech failure, but we're back in business here. So I mean, Cory's got a fairly large fan base that's chiming in here. You get Stacey Clements is obviously a big fan. He's got Fred Bannister says you're a hell of a wheel man. Can't wait to see you winning 2 big races last year. Can't wait to see what you can do next year, especially down in Florida. Mallory Chislett says, "We love you, Cory." And Aiden Bonner wants to know, this is a question that I had as well, but what's your biggest goal for 2022? You're starting off big. You're going to be down running a lot of races to start off, but what's next after that?
Hopefully come home in one piece. And if we accomplish that, it'll be probably a similar schedule-ish. I would like to actually get over to Oyster Bed and race there. That place is just incredibly fun, and I enjoy it. So hopefully we can add that to our schedule. And then very similar with the Petty and 660 shows, and then we'll see what else comes up.
Would you have any chance of running any more tour races this year?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Obviously, we have a lot of customers that we have to service and work with there. So that obviously complicates things with time. And it's not just a matter of the day of the race. It has more to do with preparation and getting the car ready. Where it's mostly myself and a couple other people help here and there. It's tough to get that kind of a turnaround when, you work from 7 to 5 or 7 to 6 and then later, depending on what's going on. So, yeah, it all just depends on timing and what's going on.
I got one more. I got it sent to me, and it's a question that a lot of people probably want an answer to. What is the difference between a Maritime Pro Stock Tour car and a Pro Late model down south of the border? What I know the engine's the same, the shock package. What is the biggest difference that you have to adjust to?
Like I said, I think the biggest difference is going to be the tire. They run on a softer, more grippy tire. The 1070 has a lot of sidewall deflection, and that changes how you feel things a lot. And that's just, it'll be interesting to see for me how I adapt to it and how it feels for me. I know a lot of people struggle with the feel of the 1070 because you can, there's two edges. There's the feel of when the sidewall wraps up and then, when the tire starts to fold. So we'll see. It's, the 1070 is obviously a uncomfortable feel, but I think as well, the shocks are different. So, they run, I'm running canister Penske's. So that's different than the blue Avcos that the Maritime Pro Stock Tour runs. And the motor, they have different options. So you can run a stock Chevy crate or with a weight brake, or you can run a McGonigal Chev, which is just, it's got a cam change and a couple other odds and ends cleaned up that makes a little bit more power. So there's a couple more engine packages, but for the most part, it's very similar. I've had to change a couple things, just rules. They mandate a certain wiring harness and a couple other odds and ends. So,
but this is your regular car.
This is the same car we had all year. So,
I got one more here, and then I can send it back to you, Dylan. It's Fred Bannister's checking in, wondering. Let's see, what was your first feeling when you won the 250 last year? Was that winning that biggest race of your career or winning the International? Which one was bigger for you?
The International was big because it was the first big race. We had won the 100 earlier in the year, but it was only New Brunswick cars. So when we went to the International and we had everybody show up, you had, Dylan Blakeborn was there, Cole Butcher, all, Slama was strong. And it just, you had all your name drivers, and to come out on top of that was incredible. So the first big one is always huge, but then to win at 250 is, it's got to be even bigger. The International was nice because of the home track, thing, but the 250 was huge. And in both instances, there was just there was the whole cool down lap of just disbelief, because we went last year without winning a race, and then this year, or last year, sorry, having the 2 wins, and then at the 250, at that point, that was my 4th win in a row. And, or sorry, not the 4th one, but 4 out of 5 or something like that. And it was just crazy, a crazy year, and just disbelief that we had accomplished that.
Do you have a bucket list of maritime races you want to win? I mean, it's kind of a loaded question because you probably want to win them all, but do you have a specific couple that you really want to win?
No, I'll obviously probably the next one for me is the Mike Stevens. I'll probably put a big effort into that this year, and that'll be a big thing for me to try to accomplish that. Obviously, it's a big race, but the hometown thing it's big for me. And then everything with Mike and his family, the Stevens family, it's a pretty cool event, and it was cool to see Slalom White get that one last year, but hopefully this year it's different.
Brandon Campbell says, good luck down in New Smyrna. And he also wants to comment on Dylan Langel's Face for Radio.
Well, I did shave my beard and get a haircut just in time for hosting here. So thanks a lot for that, Greg. We'll have Cory here for a few more minutes if you have a question about, New Smyrna or the 2022 season. Cory, I was looking through that entry list there, and it's really a battle in North America, of course, dominated by a lot of Americans, a couple of Quebecois racers there, and even a driver from Mexico in the mix too. So that's pretty cool where we're getting all the North American countries in the mix here in this pro stock division.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the whole idea of the World Series, is that, supposedly everyone from the world is going. So, we'll see how everything goes throughout the week. Obviously, it's going to be a big undertaking for us as a team. Luckily for me, my boss, Andrew, is going with us. So that'll be huge to have his experience on how to manage every day and how to operate the team, because throughout this year it was a lot for me as a driver to try to race the car and manage the team and everything else. I was very fortunate that I had a great group of people that I didn't have to do much with and knew what they were doing. But it'll be big for me to have that kind of off my back, to be able to focus on what the car is doing and what adjustments I feel, what direction I feel we need to go, and more importantly, where I need to improve.
I'm looking at this schedule, Cory, and Denver kind of alluded to it too. When you look at it, do you kind of pick and choose, like, okay, we're going to race night 1, maybe we'll take night 2 off, or is it, hey, we're going to go, see where we go from there, basically? Is that going to be the mentality of just play it safe and see where it goes?
Yeah, I mean, we'll just start the first night and then continue on from there. I don't think there's anything that we're going to attempt to run every night, and as long as there's no crazy damage, I feel like we're going to be in good shape that way. But I don't know. Yeah, that's just, you never know, right? You could get caught up in somebody else's wreck on night 1 and be on the sidelines the rest of the week. It's just you never truly know. But I'm excited to get down and give it a go.
Now, you're not the only Maritime are going to be participating. The Oval Outlaw going to be doing some sportsman racing. How cool to see Wayne going to be competing down there too.
Yeah, it's great. It was cool to see him run in 660 while it was a short running for him. He had some car issues, but still neat to see him get back behind the wheel of anything. I mean, he ran the street stock a couple times last year as well, and anything to see him run is cool. I remember my only stock car, background before I started racing was every year we would go to the IWK 250. So I remember watching him. I remember the year that Brad Keselowski was there and Sean Tucker had won it. That was a big thing for me. became my favorite driver, and then from years then on. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool to see him run and keep going.
So are you helping each other out? Is Wayne going to change a tire? Is that the Maritime connection, or is it you just
I
going to
don't
go?
know. I think as far as I know, Earl Wright's going to go down too, and he's going to help us out, and I'm sure he'll be bouncing back and forth somewhat too. So yeah, it'll be hopefully we both find success there.
I'm sure you both will. Let's talk a little legend racing. We just unveiled the Maritime League of Legends schedule for 2022. I'm sure you'll get behind the wheel of your legend car, but what's on the go with Cory Hall Racing this year with Scotia Speed World, any other tracks, and the tour coming up?
Yeah, so I think it'll be kind of, business as usual for us. There's no real, nothing really significantly changing. For me personally, obviously Riverside is going to be one that I'll make sure I'm at, however way I got to be. And aside from that, we'll see. I really enjoyed getting back behind the wheel of it in Sydney, and they're certainly one of the most fun cars to drive, and I really enjoyed that. So getting back into it will be good next year. But then Danny's looking to do more. He's going down to internationals, and I believe he's going to run the road course a couple days before, and they're looking at running more road courses and more in general. So Scott McLean's doing a lot with them and keeping them going, and that's been a really good partnership for them, and even for me, for having Scott there to kind of manage that when I'm not able to be there. So they've all done quite well over last year, and I think it was really impressive to see how they all did, Craig and Danny. So looking forward to that. I'm not sure exactly what Craig's plans are yet. Obviously, he's got some work to do to repair his car from last year, but and then I got some work to do with Chase McKay, and then I have another driver lined up for next year that it's not exactly my news to share, but I'm sure that they'll be posted about it soon.
Got a whole stud stable, basically.
Yeah, it kind of fluctuates. It seems like back in 2017, I believe there was 8, and then it kind of dwindled down, and people were getting out and moving around, and then now it's starting to spike back up again, and it's good to see, and it's good to have fun people to be around. For me, the whole Legends program is just a matter of friends and people I enjoy being with. So I just like to go to the racetrack, have fun, and go home.
Hey, Cory, the rumor is your dad was quite a wheelman in a Cavalier back in the day. Legend car would be the same thing, right? Well, I mean, you could always start a development program for him.
I often was after him to get in it, but all he's ever done is 2 laps. And the final lap, he got really squirrely at a 2 and decided that was enough for him. So I don't know if he's watching this or not, and I'm not sure if that meant he was scared or what that meant, but I would like to see him do some more, but we'll see.
His wallet might have got scared.
Yeah, that could have been as well.
I'll throw it back to Denver here for another set of questions, and then we'll go to social media one time. We'll basically call it a last call. I'm sure, Cory, you still got probably lots and lots of work to do in your number 83 car. You always hear about simulation, and especially with this Clash race coming up at the Coliseum, where now that's on iRacing with sim racing. Have you been doing a little bit of sim racing to kind of prepare here, since it's been a while since you've been behind the wheel of the 83 car, since October, basically?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to with between work and getting everything ready, and then trying to find time for my girlfriend and stuff. It hasn't really been an option yet, but I hope that Saturday the trailer's leaving, so I hope to get on and turn some laps. I've done a decent amount there over the past couple of years, just super late at New Smyrna on iRacing, but it'll be good for me to get a refresher.
Denver, what do you got else here for Mr. 250?
Cory, I want to ask you how important is qualifying going to be, and do you consider yourself to be a good qualifier? Because with the entry list, the amount of cars that it could get a little chaotic back in the pack.
Yeah, I think qualifying is going to be huge, especially the first one with it being 35 laps and you got to qualify. I'm not sure. I don't know how they do the rest of the week. There's some type of handicap system I'm not quite sure of that I got to look into. But the first night will be huge. Then that kind of sets the standard for the week. It kind of gives you an idea, okay, who's who and who's what, and then it gives you an idea going into the race of who you're racing and what's going on. For as far as me being a good qualifier, if you had asked me that 5 years ago, I would have said not a chance. But in the pro stock, we've had good success with qualifying, but I would certainly not sit here and say that I am, just more worries of jinxing it. So we'll see. There's certainly a lot of people probably down south that are a lot better at it than me with more experience, but I'm glad that they do qualifying for the International and the Mike Stevens and events like that. So I've got a little bit of experience going into it.
Absolutely. Now I want to ask you, say this week goes well, what's next for you in the States? Is there an Oxford 250 start, a snowball derby start? Are you eyeing up any more races depending on how, this week goes?
Nothing right now. But we'll see as the year goes on. The snowball derby or snowflake is certainly not an option. It's a serious event, and you got to have a serious crew, and you got to spend a serious amount of money. So that's certainly probably not something that's going to be on our horizon in a bit. But I would, and as well as the Oxford 250. But I think we'll see how the year goes. It's not completely out of the question if we have another strong year to see us try to get down for possibly a fall Oxford race or possibly go for something else stateside, but it would have to be something that's makes sense for us money wise for sure.
There was a question we got from Tim. He's wondering if you get an off day, if you're going to go visit him at Citrus.
I don't know what he's talking about off days, but I got to race. I got to practice one day, race 3 days in a row. I have my quote unquote off day to do maintenance and more than likely repairs and what else that comes with it. And then another 4 days. So more than likely not. And I'll more than likely be sleeping if I do have spare time, but I'll probably tune in.
It should be the other way around. He should be the one coming to visit you at New Smyrna,
well,
right?
That's what I would think. Yeah. It's far, but it's not that far. So
yeah,
Friday night, Tim, we'll see you there.
He can Uber.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he would get done early enough to make it up to New Smyrna, I think.
Well,
would he not?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I don't know. We'll see.
We'll have to get have some. Oh, it's Tim. Sleep. Who needs sleep? Kids these days. Tim, I thought you put a couple monsters or whatever in the end. You'll be able to make it to New Smyrna, no problem.
Oh yeah, Tim loves the long hauls in between races. I know he does. I see it all the time. So yeah, we should see him there. For as far as me and sleep, I love sleep, and if the week goes the way every other speed weeks goes, I'm probably gonna need it come Monday.
Absolutely. Now, before I throw it back to Dylan and Greg, Tim had also mentioned that you and your father might have some stories about him from over the years at Winter Nationals. Is there anything in particular that you can share on the internet?
On the internet, that's appropriate. Man, he's been a part of some interesting adventures between. He came down with us 1 year, and then he traveled with Cole Woodrow, Cole Tanner, and that group in Cy Harvey's truck 1 year. So there's certainly been some adventures. I remember DJ Lyon was a part of that too, and a bunch of other people. But yeah, I don't know if maybe all of those stories should be shared on Tim's Corner Live.
Well, Dylan, Tim's not on with us, so he can't shut it down. He'll just have to sit at whatever, let him roll his eyes wherever he's sitting waiting for a plane or whatever.
He's frantically freaking out next to the New Jersey Turnpike right now, saying, "Shut up, stop talking." No, it's all in good fun. We'll chuck it back over here to Greg. Last call on social media. They're ringing the bell here at the bar. What do we got, Greg?
Just want to say hello to a couple people. Thanks for listening in. Aiden Bonner, he's saying hi from Toronto. He's a big fan. David McKay watching along. Gardner Allen. Mallory decided she thinks that all Cory's going to need is a Mountain Dew to stay awake at night. He's not going to require any of that monster stuff. But Stacy Clements, an interesting comment here. He says that you're the Greg Seward of modern times. That's pretty high praise, I must say.
Wow. Yeah, thank you.
And Tim mentioned something about a snowstorm being fun. I don't know if he's talking about the current snowstorm or something to do with.
He's getting messed up. The one that's gonna hit us is hitting him right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, he's supposed to be boarding, so he should probably put his phone down. But that's it. We got a couple people chiming in here. I don't have too many more questions on the go.
All good, though. All good. We've been having some fun here with Cory Hall. We got him on here for another couple minutes or so, and then we'll let him get back to work. But, Cory, with Greg reading those comments, and it's almost like the entire maritime racing scene is behind you here. How does that make you feel as you head towards Florida?
Yeah, the support that I've gotten over the past couple months has been incredibly humbling, to be honest with you. I've always, tried. Well, when I was young, I might have been a little more mouthy, but for the most part, just try to kind of do my thing and keep to myself. But it's been incredibly humbling to have the support that I've had, and the people come forward that want to help and have even offered their time to look for help and try to be a part of it and source sponsors and as well as come down to help us. So it's crazy to think about, but it's very, very nice to know that we're headed in the right direction with what we're doing. And I very, 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 very much appreciate the opportunity that these people have given me.
If someone watching right now, Cory, has a couple of extra bucks laying around, or they want to help out in any way, how can they help you out before you hit the road?
In any way. There's obviously still incredible costs that's going to kind of take a hit on us, not just for this event, but obviously, this event, I'm taking money out of what we plan on using to race this year around here. So, any help helps us get to more races. And that's why for us, this past year was huge because we had success in winning races and got purse money to where we could afford to do more. And that's why you've seen us do more. And that's huge for us to keep going. Obviously, most people are aware that we're not a big team and don't have a surplus of money. And it's very much funding dependent on what we do. So if anybody's looking to have their name or their company on the car and looking to support what we're trying to achieve, just give me a text or a call or shoot me a message on Facebook. Any way, email, it all works.
Two last quick questions here, and then we'll do final thanks for the whole crew that helps you out. Fun question number one: what theme park are you going to in Florida? Disney World or Universal if you get a couple of wins?
It's funny you say that. I just talked to my boss today about taking a couple of days afterwards to go to Disney with my girlfriend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So she's flying down, I believe, on Wednesday for the final week and be there for a couple races. And then, we're going to go to Disney and check that all out. I've never been on a quote unquote vacation in the South. It's always been racing. So I don't know if I should enjoy myself, but I might go crazy. I don't know.
There is a little racetrack inside the Magic Kingdom, but it's on rails though. So yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
Fun question number 2. NASCAR starts up this week with the Clash at the Coliseum. What do you think of that? And I guess it's kind of a crapshoot. Who do you think is going to get the big win this Sunday coming up?
That is completely true. I have no idea. Nobody really has any idea on. I don't even know. You see they do their favorites and all that for the NASCAR races. I have no idea how they're going to determine who's the favorite going into this race, because it'll be certainly different between the new car and incredibly short track with way too much power and way too much size of a car. So I don't know if it'll just be a complete mess of wrecking or if it'll be a great show. Who knows what we're headed into, but yeah, I would say you'll probably see that your typical, your JGR cars are going to be hard to beat and your Hendrick cars are going to be hard to beat. And, hopefully Stewart-Haas steps up, but I think your short track guys will probably be standouts, hopefully. And hopefully we see some people that maybe, don't have the best of cars can kind of make up the difference. We'll see what that brings. Certainly throttle control will be important.
Can't be more of a bigger wreck fest than the 2020 Clash actually at Daytona.
Well,
that was woo.
There you go. So I'm hoping to see someone like Larson, but I don't think he has a super great short track skill set yet. But I think there's probably not much he can't do. So we'll see.
It's going to be fun with the qualifying practice on Saturday. Yeah. They're going to have heat racing on Sunday, LCQ, which is going to be pretty cool. And I'm there's going to be a couple dump and runs on the last lap in turn 3.
Guaranteed. LCQs are great. Always great. And unless you're in them, then they're not. But to watch, they're always great.
It'll be on Fox on the weekend. You're going to be on the service where they stream all those races. Cory, coming up. You don't do it alone. Who do you got to thank before we wrap things up with you here? You got a long list of supporters and crew members and family and everything. Go for it.
I got a long list, so I hope everybody's sitting down. No, it's to start with, obviously, my mother and father. I can't thank them enough. I mean, my mother drives a 2010 Camry that was in a wreck that they fixed and bought and fixed. My dad's drives around in an 08 just GMC Sierra that he spent, I think, $500 on, and they dedicate everything for me to do this, and it means the world to me, and I never get the opportunity to thank them properly for their sacrifices. But them, as well as obviously Roland McDonald, King Racing, Andrew, they brought me in here started 2018, so 4 years ago, and have given me incredible opportunities to pursue this. I mean, I would have never expected to be racing a pro stock 5 years ago, and to be sitting here going to New Smyrna is definitely something I never would have expected. So incredibly thankful for them and their help in the efforts to get us there, as well as GS Racing. They've been a supporter of mine right from the start. Paul Goulin has been huge help to me over the years, as well. Robbie's Towing. Robbie Reed has been huge and is always there to keep me in check and keep me humble. So, but also support me. So it's great to have him on board, as well as people that have helped out for this occasion with JS Plumbing and Heating, Chris Fournier Remax, as well as the Troy Burke and all his crew for jumping on board and helping out. And then, oh my God, I'm probably forgetting incredible people. The Point Design Group with Peter Lawrence, and I don't know. I think King Freightline's obviously as well, and whoever else that I'm forgetting. And then for as far as crew, obviously I have to thank everybody that's been a part of it from the start. But then for this trip, Andrew Hickens going down with us, Craig McDonald, my dad, Earl Wright, Michael Cormier. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it for personnel that's going down. And yeah, I think I got at least 75%. So I'm gonna call that good.
You're gonna have to go ahead, Craig.
I was gonna say you may want to hold off on thanking your dad over here once you get home and check your once you get off and check your Facebook feed, because he's ripping the stories with back and forth with Tim. From sleeping on the highway in Virginia, snowstorm and highway patrol and Hooters and birthdays. So you may want to.
Oh, we do have to talk about that. So we are driving along, and obviously we get in a snowstorm driving down to Florida, which is about normal for every year. And yes, we get stuck in a snowstorm, me, Dad, and Tim Terry. And I don't even remember. I hardly remember yesterday, but I do remember being there for an extended amount of time. I remember it was a Ford Ranger or Ford F-150 or something was stuck, and they were determined that they were going to do something, go out around people or something. They were just stuck, and so were we for what must have been six or so hours. So that was certainly an interesting excursion, but Hooters is always interesting as well. I think Tim had a good time that night.
Thought about Woody telling people it's your birthday and you were dressed like an owl. I mean, I feel like you could have a whole show just with Scott.
There's a picture somewhere of me in that situation. No idea where. Hope it doesn't come out, but there is a picture.
It'll come out. Just yeah.
Oh, I'm sure someone will put it in the feed there.
Yeah. Once you win that race this weekend, it'll pop up on Facebook somewhere.
The best part about racing and the connections that myself and everyone involved has made is just the stories and the good times between obviously bandos, legends, and now pro stocks, everything we've done. I got to race with Allison Legacy car for Woody one time, and all those things are just incredibly cool to look back on. And I forget probably 3/4 of the things I've done, but it's yeah.
You're going to continue the great things and add on to that, so then you'll forget more because you're going to have great success coming up here.
We hope so.
Cory, thanks a lot for coming on. We could be here with you for another hour just talking about Hooters stories, because I've got a story similar, being stood up on a chair at a Hooters. Yeah. And
we always I always need people to start the triggers, and then I'm right. For me, I always go blank, and then when someone mentions something, it's like, oh yeah, that's right, I remember that, and then more memories keep flooding in. We've had a lot of interesting excursions, but I do remember very fondly many trips with Cody Quinn to where we broke down and had to get a U-Haul to get the trailer the rest of the way. And Virginia was always the area that we had troubles at, whether it was transmission, motor, etc. We seemed to always have problems. So we drove a U-Haul from Virginia to Florida one year.
Once we get Cody Quinn in the mix, stuff's going to go haywire, right?
Yeah, exactly. Things go crazy.
Cory, thanks again for coming on here. Good luck in New Smyrna, and we hope to have you on here talking about some victories you're going to get there down in Florida.
That's the plan. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. That's Cory Hall, driver of the 83 for Cory Hall Racing, defending reigning champion of the Remax 250, and I'm sure we'll be catching up with him shortly. So he'll be racing again in the World Series of Asphalt at New Smyrna coming up. Denver, it's coming up real soon, as a lot of stuff is coming up real soon as we creep closer and closer to racing time here in the Maritimes. And you know what, Denver? You got to look good by the time racing season kicks off here in Nova Scotia. We have new TCM hats, right?
Absolutely, we do. Tim's got a whole bunch of new apparel, so lots to be excited about. And, make sure you pick some up. I believe, Dylan, where can you get them at?
Well, if you're in the Truro area, you can go stop by Auto World and Sales with Dylan Blencourt, his shop there. They are available. They're a flex fit hat, $30 each, but they're limited quantities. So make sure you swing by the service department there, get her done. Maybe get your car all topped up and everything, and grab a TCM hat. You can see that post on the Tim's Corner Motorsports Facebook where you are here if you need a little reminder. So after a fun conversation with Mr. Hall, Cory Hall, he says thanks, and we wish him good luck again. We're going to go from pro stock racing and legend racing now to some street stock racing, island style. Our next guest, well, I've seen him drive the 31. There's a 3 in the mix, but it's for Albert Family Racing over there in Prince Edward Island. It's our good buddy Tayler Albert here on TCM Live. He watches every week, and we said, you know what? Let's wrangle him up here for a little conversation. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Dylan. How are you tonight?
Very good. So what'd you think of that conversation with Cory Hall? You were in the woodwork here, getting ready on the sideline.
Yeah, no, it's great. I know Cory quite well, so I know he'll go down south and represent the Maritimes quite well. He's a wheelman that can wheel anything, so he should do well down south. So looking forward to seeing his results.
So how's winter been treating you? We saw you at the racetrack a couple of times with cousin and everything. I think I saw your cousin race a bit more than you did last year with Brandon. But how's winter treating you so far?
Winter's been good. Yeah, it's been slow. Work keeps me busy pretty well all year round, being an accountant and all. So never really kind of dies down. So that keeps me busy during the off season. But other than that, everything's been good. The car right now is in the backyard and on the trailer and under a tarp, but getting ready to kind of get it out of the woodwork here and do some work to it before, because May's not too far down the road here, so got to get rearing gear for sure.
You're an accountant. Can you find us extra money?
I can try.
So, we just had Cory on talking some pro stock racing and some legend racing. In your family, you're street stock racers, but I guess we'll kind of dial back here as, with Cory, we're kind of talking about the now here, but now we're kind of going back to the past with you. The Alberts, how did you guys get your start in street stock racing or racing in general?
Oh, okay. That's got to go back. It's got to be 34 years ago, I would say, with my uncle Kevin. So Kevin was the first one, their first car they bought from Dan Duke, the one and only. A modified, I think, at that time or something. And Kevin would have been 18 and he's in his 50s now. So that was a long time ago. That's when they first started. And after that, they got out of the modified, they cut it up and actually made a street stock out of it. And that's how they got their start in street stock racing. Would have been, I think, in the late 80s. Yeah, just after Oyster bed, I think, got paved.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so it must have just been after the asphalt was thrown down there.
Yeah, exactly. But my grandfather years ago, there used to be a dirt track, I think, in Freetown, and they used to run down there. So that's how the racing all got started with my dad and my uncle. So, yeah.
So you were at the track when you were a little one, running around, grabbing wrenches, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was in the booster seat going to the racetrack when I was probably 3 or 4 years old in the old 79 Suburbans, what they used to haul the street stock with back in the day. It was green. It was ugly green. But yeah, me and my cousin Emma, would be Kevin's daughter. We're only a year apart, so we were 3 or 4 years old going down to the races. So it was a lot of fun.
And when you were going, we're about similar age there. So you would have been going to OBS during the height of NASCAR in the 90s with guys like Wayne Smith and Greg Seward running there. Any memories of watching the races of yesteryear at OBS back then? Yeah,
so actually growing up, my favorite racer probably on the NASCAR tour was Wayne Smith and the green number 33 he used to run. I remember that car as clear as day. He was definitely my favorite racer at that time, watching the NASCAR tour. So that was pretty cool.
So then what lit the spark for you eventually to get behind the wheel?
So just going to the races all the time with my uncle Kevin, and then Brandon's dad Chris got into it as well. So there was the point there was 2 cars running pretty well every week. And then when I turned, I started in 2015, so about 7 years ago, I there was a 4-cylinder class, and I was like, that'd be a good spot to start. Like pretty cheap. You kind of put your car together, put your roll cage together, and go and race. So winter of 2014, 2015, we put a car together and went 4-cylinder racing. So that was a lot of fun.
You know, you can watch as many races as you can in the stands, but as soon as you get behind the wheel and you're on the track, everything's thrown out the window. How was it getting on the track around other cars that first time at Oyster Bed?
Yeah, so that was something different. So there was first couple of weeks we kind of just went to practice. So they used to have open practices on Tuesday nights. So we go down there for first couple of weeks just to get my feet kind of wet. But that first race, when you had someone running door to door with you, it was pretty eye opener. Crap your pants a couple times, but it wasn't too bad once you got used to it. So, but yeah, definitely an oh crap moment for sure.
Tayler Albert is our guest now here, street stock racer at OBS, but across New Brunswick. I've seen him at Betty a couple of times. So if you have a question about street stock racing or Oyster Bed or and maybe even accounting or umpiring baseball, maybe we'll dive into that too. Leave a question. Greg McKay will get to him, and we'll get to some questions from Denver there. But so 2015, we get rolling. You start racing regular in a mini stock there. Was there a big learning curve at the start, thinking maybe, oh, this is easy, my family's been doing it forever, or was there kind of a sort of success there?
Yeah, it was a little different to start because my dad, my family's been always rear wheel drive cars, right? And then you get yourself into a front wheel drive, so it's a little different for sure. But no, with my dad's help, my uncle's help, we got going pretty good. My first season there, I think I ended up with three heat wins, so it was a good start right out of the gate. It took probably a few months. It wasn't until August, I think, and season started in May that I got my first win. But yeah, that was pretty cool.
The first checkered flag, it just the best feeling in the world, right?
Yeah, and it was kind of a weird story too. So I actually didn't win the race. So my first checkered flag, I actually got kind of spun out on the last lap and got sideways. But the person that spun me and got me loose, they put her back a couple positions. So I ended up taking the checkered flag, even though I crossed the finish line second. So that was kind of interesting, but you never forget your first checkered flag, that's for sure.
Hey, those be the rules. Rules are rules. What was the field looking like when you got your start there in mini stock racing?
Yeah, so when I first started, there was probably about 18, I would say probably 17, 18 cars a week, I would say, pretty well when I first started. Like when I first started, there was some good 4-cylinder drivers like Mitchell Montgomery, Jeff Richard, the LeClaire boys. There's been Randy McTavish, like there's been Charles Wolliver, Jason Cornish. There's a lot of good 4-cylinder drivers when I first started. Harley Cornish, another one. So a lot of guys that kind of moved up into the Honda division for sure that are still winning lots of races there too. So
we're almost chronologically going through your career here, but early on, Denver, got any questions for Mr. Albert about maybe some street stock racing or Oyster Bed stuff?
Well, first of all, thanks for joining us on the show, Tayler. We hadn't even had the words out of our mouth to shoot us messages if someone wanted to be on, and my inbox was blowing up. You were the first one through. So thanks for joining us tonight. I want to jump ahead a little bit and ask you about 2020, because 2020 was a real tough season with COVID-19. There was 0 races run at Oyster Bed Speedway. Did you get to any races or at all in 2020? How was that season?
Yeah, that season was pretty rough. It was pretty devastating to see that Oyster Bed wasn't going to open. So we kind of put everything on the back burner, and we're like, well, we should get out to one race. So we did truck out to Petty for the Mike Stevens weekend, but that turned into a long weekend as the Friday night got rained out. We actually got there Thursday trying to practice and almost got to the track, and then it started to rain, so they canceled practice Thursday night, canceled the racing on the Friday night. We went down and watched the show on the Saturday, and then got to finally race on Sunday. So yeah, that was definitely a long weekend for sure in Moncton. So
definitely, I remember that well. It was rainouts are never fun, but neither are COVID cancellations either, to say the least. So 2021, I guess you got to bounce back a little bit. Oyster Bed reopened. How was the past year?
Yeah, it was okay. We had built a new motor over the winter, and we're having some issues with some overheating issues and that kind of stuff. So it wasn't a great 2021, but coming on the end, we got our issues, I think, figured out, and we're really looking forward to 2022, a nice bounce back season, hopefully. So.
For those who maybe haven't been to Oyster Speedway yet and are watching us tonight, I've been there, Dylan's been there. It's one of the crown. Well, I should say maybe more of a hidden gem of the Maritimes. Might be the best way to describe it. It's a beautiful track, a beautiful facility. You guys put on some great racing, and always seems to be a full house. Describe Oyster Speedway to someone who's maybe never been there, and why should they come check it out?
Yeah, no, it's a different facility too, because there's not many tracks around that have the banks like all the way around, right? Like most tracks in New Brunswick are fairly flat, like Miramichi, Speedway 660. It's kind of like Petty, but just a little. It's not as the straightaways aren't as long, but the atmosphere is great, man. Like the announcers are great, the people there, the ownership group. It's a very tight knit facility for sure. Car counts aren't as what they used to be, but they're still pretty strong in almost all divisions. But yeah, there's some great races that have come out of Oyster Bed, and it's a great facility. Saturday nights, it's always packed, always the spot to be on the island for sure on Saturday nights.
Before I throw it back to Dylan, I want to ask you about the street stock class at Oyster Bed Speedway. I know it's kind of evolved over the years, like you said, car counts have ebbed and flowed a little bit up and down. But I remember the first time I went there. I remember hearing about the reputation of the street stock division for being kind of, the rock'em sock'em brand, and, a little wild, a little rowdy, not afraid to beat and bang, and all really intimidated some drivers who came over to race on the island. So, how is that class, and what gives it that reputation? I guess is it a worthy reputation?
Yeah, it's definitely got the reputation for sure, because you've talked to lots of guys from across. Sometimes they are a little timid to come over and race us on the island for sure. But that actually, there was one race I went over to New Brunswick. It was the Shediac race a few years ago. Me and Brandon went over, and one of Dan's crew members looked at our cars and said, "You guys built tanks." I said, "Yeah, we need to, because it's rock'em sock'em over here. It's totally different beast of racing." But I think that kind of dwindles down to, like, in the past history with a lot of good drivers at the street stock division, and that was kind of the way it was back then. It was the thing with the street stock, with the metal bodies and stuff, you can kind of beat and bang, and it doesn't really change too much handling wise on the car, and you just bang the fenders back out and you go back again. So but it's definitely got the reputation from years ago with guys like Gerald McQuarrie and Albert Cameron and Emmett Donahue, like all those awesome racers back in the day. But that's what they did. They leaned on each other, they beat and banged, and that's how they raced.
Before I throw it over to Dylan, Greg, I see a couple of returns on social media so far. What do you have for Mr. Albert?
Yeah, Jeff McGinnis piped in. He's pretty excited to get back on the track with you in 2022. He says he knows you guys had a tough 2021 season, but he's hoping 22 will be better for you.
Yeah, Jeff had a real good season last season. Well, that car's got a lot of good history with Amanda Wheatley behind the wheels, so he definitely got his money worth last year with it. Did a lot of good runs in it, and Jeff's a real good driver, real nice follow too. So looking forward to being back on the track with him as well.
Since your family, deep roots in the street stocks, is there any aspirations in any generation to move? I know the only really way you can move up over at Oyster Bed would be a pro stock at this point, but is there any aspirations to bundle it all together and move up, try to make a big run, or are we just out for fun and just like to play street stocks?
Yeah, right now it's pretty well just fun with the street stock. It's kind of been our legacy over the years, and my dad loves the street stocks. My whole family's just behind the street stocks right now. You might see Brandon dwindle down into a pro stock. Yeah, the next few years maybe, we'll see. But for me personally, I'm fine where I'm at. I'm content racing street stock. So
we still got Stacy Clements tuned in. He's curious to how old you are.
I am 27.
27. You don't look it. There you go.
Thanks.
That's your compliment for the night. That's all we got for now. We'll keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Yes, sir. Keep them coming. Got some street stock and mini stock info. And with Oyster Bed, Tayler, I got there for the first time last year. when the vintage cars rolled up. And, you talk about the track, and I've heard so much about how, oh, it's kind of like Petty. And then I've heard drivers say, well, turn 3 and 4 is exactly like Riverside, and turn 1 and 2 is like the old Onslow Speedway. Even just walking on that track, it is unique. And that's the cool thing I like about the Maritimes. Not every track is the same. Oyster it's completely own flavor.
Yeah, especially 3 and 4 are really banked. Like I said, kind of like Riverside, kind of like Petty, but 1 and 2 is just a whole different beast. Like it's somewhat banked, it's somewhat flat. And Oyster over the years has kind of dwindled down. It used to be a nice 2-groove racetrack, but right now the surface is starting to get worn down a bit. You're probably a groove and a half racetrack now. So the high side used to be the preferred line, but I'd say the low side nowadays is probably the fastest way around that place now. So.
I know we're kind of bouncing around here, but whatever. The boss isn't here. He's on a plane somewhere, I think. But, when I was there last year, and even with the COVID restrictions were a bit looser at the time, there were no face masks and PEI, and gathering limits were pretty much nowhere there. But man, that place was packed, and the fans there were fun and having fun. I did a prize giveaway during a rain delay. Jeremy McDonald was calling me Santa Claus. And it was great. The fans there at Oysterbed, and I guess with, PEI being the smallest province there, the Islanders really get behind everything that's going on there, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it definitely helps. Like there's only one racetrack in the province, so that definitely helps matters too. But the fans there's been fans going down there for probably 30, 40, 50 years that are taking their kids now, taking their grandkids now. Like it's crazy. It's a pretty tight knit group, and it's a lot of people have been going for a long time. So.
You've been doing this racing thing for a long time, 7 years, 7+. But, how do you make that transition from the mini stock up to that street stock? Was it just, hey, it's time, or, hey, I've kind of outgrown the mini stock, or, sometimes, not to say you were chased out, but sometimes drivers kind of get chased out of it, whether it's too rough, the competition's just guys are maybe pushing the envelope a bit too much in the tech department and it's getting costly. What threw you up to street stock racing?
Yeah, so the street stock was so the car that I have right now is actually my dad and my uncle Kevin built it. Kevin was running it full time and just kind of wanted to take a little step back, didn't want to race full time, just kind of part time. And with me living in Truro, like I couldn't commit to a full year schedule. So basically the window was there that I would sell the for fun and kind of move up to the street stock and kind of share the ride with Kevin, kind of learn off him and kind of go that way rather than a good for fun car sitting at home running only a few times a year. I thought it was time to sell that and maybe transition over something a little bit bigger. And the seat was there, so it just kind of worked out that way.
We had Kyle McKinnon on this show, Denver would remember, and he was talking about when Matt Martin, TikTok superstar, when he had his mini stock and a street stock at the same time. And Kyle said you can't run both because they're just different. How did you find going from that for fun mini stock up to a street stock?
Yeah, the whole
front wheel to rear wheel, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole different ball game. Just driving, like the amount of torque you get off the from the wheel rear drive coming off the corner, you really gotta feather the throttle. Whereas the for fun, you're just pounding it to the metal just to get that 4-cylinder kind of rolling. But yeah, and even like the track with like the street stocks are a lot wider than the for fun. So I found like you had to run kind of a different groove. You couldn't run as high with the street stock as I would on the for fun. So I almost had to learn how to drive again because I couldn't really run the same line I had in the for fun. So it was definitely a big learning curve for me.
Were you kind of thrown in the wolves race number one in that street stock, kind of like a mini, just kind of taking that adjustment of, okay, these guys are driving different, maybe a bit rougher, right? A little rock'em sock'em.
Yeah, it was definitely different. It was definitely stayed at the back for most of the year, just trying to get my feet wet, trying to figure out how to drive the thing more or less and try to stay out of everybody else's way because there are a lot of good drivers in that street stock division at Oysterbed.
So what success have you had driving? No matter the number, I'm looking at your Albert Family Racing Facebook. I see a 3, I see a 31, I see a 37. No matter where you are, which car is yours, I guess, number one, and how much success have you had in street stock racing?
The 38 would be my car this year. It's been the 31 in the past, but with me kind of going with my own car and Kevin and Dexter are snow sharing their ride. We thought as a team that we bested for Kevin. He made the 31 what it was. running for 34 years, so we thought it was only fair that he switched back, and I kind of start with my own number and try to build my own kind of legacy per se of my own. So, but yeah, I run the 38. Kevin and Dexter share the 31, and Brandon runs the 37 for street stock, and then Brandon's brother Ethan has the number 11 Honda. So there's 4 of us out of the pretty well the same stable, so it's pretty cool.
What's this number 3 I'm seeing here? This Frankenstein. I remember seeing that last year at Oyster Bed.
Yeah, so the Frankenstein number 3 is now going to be the 31.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that you're taking what the 31 would have been to the 38 now? Okay. So just,
exactly. That's right.
Just numbers and decal changes, basically.
Exactly. That's right.
So, and that's pretty cool. And I think Denver would agree, it's kind of cool having these family stables where it's a family affair. You've got the dad, the uncle, the cousins all there. Is it almost kind of feeling like a wrestling stable when you all go to the track at the same time? The Owlbears are here.
Yeah, we kind of got the reputation now that it's kind of, oh crap, the Owlbears are here. Like, you better, we got the reputation over the years that we like to beat and bang, but it comes with the last name, I guess, more or less. When you show up to the track, you're in for a rumble. So
I know we were talking before we were getting everything lined up. You were originally going to try and wrangle the cousin out, Brandon, but you say he's got some prior commitments. But his career, is it kind of similar to yours, where the dad's doing the racing, the family's doing the racing, and then you go from this to that? What was his progression through the ranks like?
Yeah, so he that funny story. So my first For Fun that I bought, my mom was totally against me racing, like 100% against it. Like I was never going to see the racetrack other than working on the car. But we kind of went behind her back and bought one car, but didn't get a chance to race it at all, and didn't really plan to race it too much. And Brandon was like, "What are you going to do with that car?" And I was like, "Do you want to buy it?" And he's like, "Yep, I'll buy it." So actually, my first car that I ever bought for fun, I actually sold it to Brandon, and he raced it in 2014, and that's where he got his first start. But I think if I watched the video a couple of years back that Jeremy did an interview with Brandon, I think Brandon's first ride was when he was 13 and in Chris's street stock down on a Tuesday night at Oyster Bed. So that's where he got railed into it pretty early as well. So.
Not to steal Greg McKay's job, but I guess I'll throw it over there. Greg, I think I see the boss man from OBS watching.
Yeah, the boss man from OBS, but there's a boss lady, I believe, on here too. So, Robbie McLean's listening in. He's says the Owlbears have a long history with OBS. And whenever the boys show up, they come to race, so the fans get their money's worth, which is the whole point, right?
Exactly, that's right.
Time of Cory. Wondering if you like the number 50 street stock at Oyster Bed. I don't know if he's trying to sell it to you or if you.
No, Gerald's a great guy. He's tough guy to pass. He uses that whole track. He makes that car 3 grooves wide. He's probably the toughest person to pass in street stock, but he's definitely one of the most respected drivers down there for sure.
And you believe your mom's listening, and I think she may now know that you went behind her back to get a race car. So
yeah, probably.
Yeah, if she didn't know before, she knows now. And thank Facebook Live for that one. Tim's Corner Live.
It's a good thing you live in Truro now, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. 2 hours away, so it's not too bad.
Before I throw to Denver for a few more questions here, just to attest to Robbie McLean, I got to meet him for the first time last year. I mean, you talk about hands-on. Me and Robbie were cleaning up glass in the announcer tower, and he sliced his hand open. He was still trying to clean up, and we're blood spitting everywhere. But, that guy was running around doing 1,001 things. Can you just attest to what Robbie means to Oyster Bed and what he does for that track?
Yeah, Robbie in the last few years especially has taken really a hands-on role ever since he's kind of got out of the pro stock racing. He's really been hands-on at Oyster Bed, keeping that track running for the most part. So we can't thank him enough. I don't think the track would have opened in 2021, realistically, with all the COVID protocols they had to go through and all the mandates and all that stuff. So thanks to him for giving us a place to race, because I really don't think Oyster Bed would have opened in 2021 if it hadn't for him. So.
And Denver, he has the greatest Christmas sweater of all time. There's no compare. I don't know how he didn't get shut down on Facebook Live at Christmas party.
Absolutely. That was quite entertaining. And Robbie, if you're still listening, drop us a comment. When's the 2022 schedule coming out? We're waiting for it. I know Taylor's waiting for it. All the fans at OBS are waiting for it. They're ready to see some racing, and we'll have to get Robbie on the show whenever it comes time to announce that schedule. So, get her done. Tayler, I want to ask you about some of the other tracks that you've gotten to race at. You've mentioned you've been to Petty, and you mentioned you went to Shediac and Miramichi. Your thoughts on some of the traveling events you've done so far?
Yeah, I think our first traveling event would have been Shediac. So that was a different beast. I was told Kevin had raced there a couple times, my uncle, and said, "Don't ever go there." He said, "I hate that track." He said, "I despise it. I'll never race on it." But I was like, "Okay, we'll try it and see what happens." But it wasn't too long to learn that it's a tough track. It's a big track and it's a flat track. So. But yeah, Shediac was fun. I think the best trip though that we had was definitely the Miramichi trip. Friday night we got up there. It was pitch black. My funny story. So where I live in Truro, my dad lives in PEI, right? So he was coming across the bridge with the race car, and I was going to meet him at the other side of the bridge, and we were going to go to Miramichi together. Well, my dad doesn't own a cell phone. So we got specifically, I told him I'm going to meet you at this time. And of course I was a little bit late, and I got to the spot and he was gone. Like 2 hours had passed, didn't know where he was, had no idea. I got a phone call from the Petrocan at Allen's Petrocan just up before the Port Elgin roundabout there. And he says, "I'm up here. Where have you been? It's been 2 hours." I said, "You were supposed to meet me at the bridge." So, yeah, we 2 hours late getting to Miramichi, but we got there that night, and Doug Matchett was there at the track with Barry, and we pulled in just before they were closing, and he said, "Yeah, if you want to go out, do some laps." So we went out and did some laps, and it was definitely a different racetrack from Oyster Bed. It was a total different beast. There was not a lot of grip. You're slipping and sliding. The track surface is definitely worn out, but it was that was a great weekend. So I really enjoyed my trip to Miramichi for sure.
So do you have any ambitions of traveling to any other tracks? Is Sydney or Speedway 660 in the bucket list, and maybe some of the other tracks? There's been rumblings about potentially some additional street stock races being added going forward.
Yeah, the Ricky Bobby's definitely on my list at 660 for sure. With living in Nova Scotia, yeah, it'd definitely be nice to run Sydney at least one weekend sometime. It's a nice little bull ring for sure. So it's definitely on the list as well.
Not to steal Greg's thunder, I see Robbie commented that they're launching a new website and the schedule hopefully in the next week or so. So that'll be exciting for sure. Tayler, what would you hope to see for a 2022 schedule at Oyster Bed Speedway?
Well, for me personally, as I live in Nova Scotia, every second week would be perfect. But I think that's what they had intended 2020 before COVID kind of hit, and also with the Maritime Street Stock Series trying to work with different tracks, which is nice to see that the big events don't get booked at Oyster Bed if there's a big race, let's say in Petty or 660. So I think by the sounds of things, Robbie was trying to tailor it to every kind of couple of weeks or so. So I'd like to see a schedule like that, the same as what they had in 2020. So definitely give me the option to kind of run the full season. So
I want to ask you about that traveling, because I know I have been in a similar situation where with school and whatnot, I have been traveling back and forth to Miramichi in the summertime. How do you find traveling, to your home track to race? You drive past a couple tracks on your way there to go race.
Yeah, it was definitely a struggle the last 2 years with all the mandates at the bridge and all that kind of stuff. But I enjoy the drive now that I used to be in Halifax, close to Dillon there for a while before I moved to Truro about a year ago. So the 2 hour trip's a lot better than the 3 hour trek. But yeah, it's definitely can be a pain sometimes, especially with the COVID protocols that are in place now. But for the most part, I quite enjoy going home all the time and going home to race. So it's a lot of fun.
I want to jump back to the Maritime Street Stock Series. It made its debut in 2021, and all indications point to a return in 2022. What do you think of this? The Maritime Street Stock Series, 5 tracks, 5 big races, and some great action.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool thing, especially with the 5 tracks, because the 5 tracks are totally different. they're I don't, other than Petty and Oyster Bed, they might be the two similar out of the five, but for the most part, it's all different tracks, and it takes a good wheelman to be able to run well at all five tracks. But it's pretty cool. It's nice to see the tracks kind of working together, and it seems like the rules packages are starting to get very, very close. Oyster Bed was probably the farthest off for a while because we were 3,500 pounds and the rest were 3,400 pounds for weight. But for now, it looks like it's all going to be pretty similar. So it makes it easy to kind of run each kind of track, just kind of change your gears, change your setup, and go. So it's not too bad.
I see. There was a bit of an announcement just before we came on tonight that Petty Raceway posted their 2022 rules. So if anyone's watching and looking for Petty's rules, they are now posted. And I noticed when I went to check it out that that's what was on the website, that the goal is for a common set of rules as close as possible between all of the Maritime tracks. I know in Miramichi we're working with that too, and hope to have the rules in. So that's definitely good for sure. Before I throw it back to Dylan, I want to ask you, Tayler, bucket list going forward. I know you guys have a big, the Piston Cup race on PEI. The championship's always big. There's lots of big races in New Brunswick. What's on your bucket list, whether it be just going to race or you're looking to carry some checkered flags or anything in between?
So right now the plan pretty well is to run full time at Oyster Bed, but I'd like to possibly get to the Mike Stevens again at Petty, and I really would like to get back up to Miramichi. I'd like to try that track once again, see if we can do something a little bit better this time out there. So, but those two are definitely on the bucket list. Ricky Bobby is definitely on the list. I'm probably not this year, but maybe next year. So
I think the trophies have, Barry's whatever sort of magic powder he's put on the trophies, they've grown a little bit in size since you were last in Miramichi.
Yeah, from what I've seen from, I think the year I was there, I think Luke McLaughlin won the race, and it was a pretty small trophy. In the last couple of years with Logan Power, he had to strap it to the inside of the car just to get it home because it won't fit the truck. So
we started it, we were increasing. I think the first year it was 2 feet, and then it was up to 4 feet. And then Justin Cole wins, and it's 6 feet, and then it was 8 feet. And we had to stop there because if it went any higher, it wasn't going to fit in anyone's house. So
no, that's right.
But
most people only have 8-foot ceilings in their house. So
yeah, they had the one Logan got last year. I think it was he said you could maybe slide a $5 bill between the top of it and the roof. So Barry knocked it down just a little bit this year. But Dylan, I know you had a couple intriguing questions for Mr. Albert still left in the chamber. So what do you got for him?
Yeah, we still got here some loaded up. And if you have any questions, folks, for Tayler here, we'll call it a semi-last call as we try and wrap things up a little smidge earlier tonight, as we got to get to bed early. And I'm sure, Denver, you got school stuff, and Paul's got some stuff coming up here shortly, too.
I got to travel tomorrow, so I got to
you got to pull, you got to do the same route that Tayler did to go to Miramichi. Just make sure you have your cell phone on and everything.
Yes.
So if you have any questions for him, leave them in the comments, and we'll get it. Whether it's around OBS, I can see Jeff McInnes, Greg, is having a kind of a conversation there with Robbie. I think some drinks maybe poured out.
Yeah, Jeff's trying to recruit Robbie for a drinking party. I think talk about racing and drive a few beers, but
that wouldn't be hard to do. I don't think.
No.
Is Ethan gonna race a street stock?
I would say that's probably in the works. Probably next year. You'll probably see him in a street stock. That's definitely something in the near future you're probably going to see.
And Denver, I see a comment from Jeff, something about Coors Light, something about burying a trophy. I don't know. I feel like that story might be deeper than we need to get into right now.
Well, let's just say, Tayler, you talk about the race in Miramichi this past year. We had a bit of a rainout, and you know what rainouts tend to do. There's some more downtime. People are sitting around waiting, and let's just say there was some beers consumed, and I don't know if Jeff won the go-kart race or if it was just a participation trophy or something of the sorts. But it's he did come away from Miramichi with a trophy, I believe, that weekend. So I think it was a pretty good weekend, all in all.
I would say so.
That's the beauty with racing. I love it. It's the memories you have during the rainouts or, the after parties and whatever. And of course on the racetrack. But, Tayler, in the past couple of years, you've become a married man. You talk about mama not liking racing. What's the wifey think about you racing?
Yeah, she's not a huge fan of it, but she kind of grew up with it. So her dad actually used to race street stock for a couple of years at Shediac back in 2010, 2011 when they had like a full-time kind of street stock class there. So plus he's also done some road course racing. He had a Spec Miata back in the day too. So she's been around racing for pretty well most of her life, I would say. So she's used to it by now.
Do you drag her to the racetrack every weekend you go to OBS, or does she stay home?
No, 9 times out of 10, she stays home. So.
Oh, man. Happy wife, happy life, right?
That's right.
You know, leading into this 2022 season, I guess, Tayler, you know, what's the expectation for yourself? Do you plan on racing full time? I know we'll probably chat about your other gig with umpiring baseball, but does that kind of hit with the schedule and I guess with the family as well? What's the plan for 2022 for Albert Family Racing?
Yeah, so right now for me personally, if like I said, if the schedule is pretty well every second week or the odd time they run back-to-back weeks, I'm going to try to run the full-time schedule. I haven't done that in a while. I missed the 4 Fun Days are probably the last time I've actually run a full schedule. I've been in the street stock, I think, for 5 years now, but I probably only have one full season, technically, probably under my belt. So I'm looking forward to hopefully get some full-time racing back there this year. But I think Brandon's plan probably to run Oyster Bed as well. He's coming off 3rd place in the points. Other than if he missed, I think the first week, I think he went to Petty for the first points race at Oyster Bed. So it wasn't for the first points race, he'd have been right there for the championship. So he's got he's coming off a good season there. He got his first technically official feature win. So he's looking forward to 2022 season too.
So if we don't find you behind the calculator or the steering wheel, we'll find you behind plate, or are you going to be standing by first? When we first met, you know, we were kind of chit-chatting about stuff, and you told me that you umpire baseball. You know, how did you kind of get your start in that, and you still do that on the side here?
Yeah, so I started that when I was 14. I'm 27 now, so I've been doing it 13 years or so now. So, but yeah, I still do that full time in Truro. I did it when I was in Halifax. I did it when I was PEI. So I quite enjoy it. I'm a national level umpire now, so I've kind of worked my way through. A couple of years ago, I went to Montreal to umpire some U13 baseball. So hoping if COVID goes away, they're going to have some nationals this year. So looking forward to hopefully getting back to a national championship this year.
So who are worse? Sorry, Greg, just to interrupt you there. Who
Go
are
ahead.
worse? Crazy moms in the stands during a baseball game, or crazy moms / dads during a race?
Oh, definitely baseball. Got to be baseball. There's some parents that take it way too serious, and they think their kids are either going to the MLB or going to play D1 down the States. But yeah, definitely the baseball moms and the hockey moms are pretty crazy.
Greg was a coach this year. You
Yes.
probably want to rip your hair out a few times, right?
Well, speaking from experience as being a U11 coach, I had a 2-game vacation for a discussion with an umpire. But if you feel like coaching U11 in the Dartmouth area, just let me know. You know, we could probably use your services.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I'm pretty close with Bryce Mason, the guy that does the assigning down there in Dartmouth. So yeah,
Sure, I'm on his list. Never got in trouble in racing. Had to go to baseball to get in trouble.
So are you going to be the umpire of the pits this year too at Oyster Bed? If you notice that someone's getting a little rowdy, you know, 3 strikes, you're out of here. Are you going to do the whole thing, or when you're on the track, you're not a referee?
Yeah, no, we'll save that for Robbie.
I was going to say, you should climb up in the flag stand and, you know, throw some flags around or something.
Yeah, that's right. Get up there with Carol and Simon and get some flags flowing for sure.
Can someone please get Robbie like a basketball referee shirt, or you know, or a baseball umpire thing? He's gonna have the big what do you call that? The pad on the front there, so you're not getting absolutely smoked with balls.
Yeah, the big chest pad.
Yeah.
You know what Robbie's would have to say, right? It would have to be some sort of variation of what his Christmas sweater was. It would have to say "Happy Race Stay and Go." Beepity beep beep beep.
Oh, and I can just picture it now. Instead of saying 3 strikes, you're out, it'd be 3 strikes, get the F out or something.
There we go.
There you go. That sounds fitting for sure.
Tayler, it's been a lot of fun, chatting some oyster bed and street stock racing. But, for someone that wants to get into street stock racing, where it seems to be somewhat growing, at least from my perspective, in New Brunswick, at least, where every time, I remember going to that 2020 Mike Stevens weekend, and those street stocks were 3, almost 4 wide sometimes. I mean, the fields are staying pretty consistent. For someone getting into street stock racing, any advice for a rookie that want to step into that division?
Yeah, just try to get as much seat time as you can. Like I said, there's a lot of good drivers in street stock, especially in New Brunswick. Like, you got Michael Cormier, you got James Matchett, you got Brad McLean from the Miramichi. There's a lot of Logan Power. There's a lot of good competition in street stock. So if you want to make the move up, just make sure you can get as much seat time behind the wheel. Get out to practices. Get out, kind of stay at the back and kind of work your way through. You'll learn more by passing cars rather than leading laps out front. So, but yeah, seat time is definitely the big thing when you get behind the street stock, because there's so many good drivers. It's just seat time is definitely key.
I'll throw it to Greg one more time here. I see there's 1 or 2 questions, not necessarily about you, but family. Greg, last call here on social media. What do you got?
Cory's mentioned, is Brandon going to get into pro stock? You mentioned earlier he may be the one that would move up, but any discussion on that?
Yeah, they've been playing with the idea for a little bit, but nothing set in stone for sure. But you'll probably see him the first one to make the step up to the pro stock for sure.
It's a slight cost differential between the street stocks and the.
Exactly, that's right. Exactly.
Racing's not a cheap man's game. I think we've always heard, whether it's the mini stock racing or street stock racing. But, just kind of browsing through Bear Family Racing on Facebook, I mean, the list of supporters you guys have, I know Mama's watching right now. Maybe the wife's watching too. Who do you want to thank for all the success and just the fun that you've had with racing and your partners as well in the marketing department, sponsorship department?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of partners and a lot of people on board too. I can't thank my brother and my dad enough, especially my dad. My dad's he comes to the track with me. He does all the mechanic work and all that kind of stuff. So I couldn't do it without him. My mom for putting up with all the crap for the last 34 years. I'm surprised she hasn't left yet, but she's still there. She still supports me, even though she hates it. I wouldn't say hate it, but it's kind of a love hate, I would think. More or less. She just hates the financial piece, I think, of more than anything. But my Uncle Kevin, Uncle Chris, Brandon, Dexter, my cousin Emma, it's a full family affair for us. We don't over the years, when Kevin first started, there was a lot of friends that used to help him out for pit crew, but for pit crew now, it's basically just family members. Gordon Stewart as well for helping Brandon. Marketing partners just on my race car alone, I've got a ton. I got DM Tile Flooring, Dylan Mugridge, a good friend with my brother, big supporter of us. Jeff Rogerson Real Estate, Travis Heat Pump Cleaning, Island Overhead Doors has been with me for a while. 945 Designs, Hickens Service Center, Johnson Saunders, my work, Errol Callback from RNC, Safe Drivers PEI, hopefully coming on board this year. SGK Atlantic, Brett's Auto Cleans come on board this year, and hopefully I'm still in the works to do a couple more, but and Brandon's got a whack of sponsors as well that I know he couldn't do what he does without them as well. So
where can someone reach you if they want to help you out?
Yeah, so they can hit up the Elbear Family Racing Facebook page or my email. It's elbearracing31@outlook.com, either or. I'm easy to get a hold of, so.
Anything we didn't cover with your racing career you want to chat about here quickly?
No, it's just from when I started in For Fun, I just can't get over the amount of good drivers when I started that have kind of worked their way through the ranks, like Mitchell Montgomery and the Leclerc boys, and the success they've had kind of in the Honda's division and kind of worked their way up through. And other than that, no, there's been memories galore with going to the races all the time with my dad. There was, I'll tell you one story of getting to the racetrack one year. So we were on our way to the racetrack, and we were coming down there's a big hill in between kind of Kensington and before you get to Oyster bit. Not the one Hunter River, but there's a one before. And we were coming down the hill, and all we heard was snap. So the trailer axle snapped on the race car trailer. And when it snapped, went sideways, and the trailer hooked in the ditch, and the car flipped off the trailer on its roof in the ditch. And my Uncle Kevin was leading the points that year. And we're like, well, shit. How are we going to get this car flipped back over into the racetrack? So we're sitting in the middle of the road, just trying to figure out what we're going to do. And my dad called one of his friends who had a tow truck, and we were able to flip the car back over. Roof was dented in about that far. Pulled up to the racetrack and went racing that night. So it was pretty crazy. Trying to get to the racetrack that day, but we ended up getting there. So that was pretty funny.
Oh, goodness. Only at a local racetrack, right?
That's right. Exactly.
I guess I'll ask the same question that I asked Cory. You know, NASCAR kicks off its 2022 season coming up. I'm not sure how in tune you are with the racing with NASCAR, but they're racing inside a football stadium this weekend with the Clash. Any predictions of how that's going to go? You know, that will be big time short track racing for the Cup Series, right?
Yeah, like Cory said, it could go one of two ways. It could be a full on wreck fest, or it could be actually pretty good racing. But no, I think the key short track racer guys are definitely going to have the advantage there for sure. I think I was listening to Racetime Radio on Sunday night, and they had Cory LaJoie on there. And Cory LaJoie's actually won a couple K&N races there back in the day. So I think he might be one of the underdogs to watch watching the Clash for sure.
Greg, who do you got for the big race coming up here?
Whoever will push the guy in front of him out of the way. It's such a small track with so many cars. I think you got to look at, I don't know, like a Tayler Reddick, one of these guys that are slightly lunatics, you know. I'll go with Tayler Reddick. So
Tayler Reddick for him. Denver, what do you think?
This is a bit of an underdog pick, but you know he's got. It's not a Stewart-Haas car, but it's a Stewart-Haas affiliation in 2022. And this guy's won a lot of modified races at Bowman Gray and all the short tracks throughout the Northeast. I think Ryan Preece is going to impress. If I head to bet, I think he's gonna. I think he'd be able to drive to keep his eye on. It just depends on how much that affiliation with SHR pans out for because it's technically a Rick Ware car. We know Rick Ware has not been the strongest team.
They did have crap boxes, but now it's a whole new ball game.
Well, the next gen is a big variable altogether because it's you know, everyone's supposed to have the exact same parts. It's going to come down to you know, the crew and what they do, you know, with the setup and whatnot, and how much they can bend the rules. So it'll be interesting for sure. But you know, combine the next gen with the SHR affiliation and the experience Ryan Preece has on the short tracks. So he's won Xfinity races at short tracks. That's who I'm hoping does well, but I have no idea what's going to happen. I can say this is it would be great if you know, Denny Hamlin likes to say it's short track racing. I'd love to see Denny Hamlin short track racing. You know, if Alex Bowman maybe gave him a little boot scoop boogie again, that would also be I'd approve of that.
I think there's going to be some feelings that were left over in 21 coming out here in 22 at the Clash. I think Kurt Busch is going to do pretty good. 2311 Racing driving the 45 with Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin. I think that's going to be a good one, but I'm setting the bar of just I'm expecting it to be a little rough, a little rowdy, but that's what it's all about. About 70,000 fans are going to be there. It's going to introduce the sport and racing in general to a lot of people in the LA area and certainly get some eyeballs. Tayler, you know, we've had a lot of fun chatting about OBS and street stock racing. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll have to chat another time soon, and maybe after a couple of wins here in 22, right?
Yeah, that's the plan. At least some top fives and some checker flags would be nice too. So, but thanks for having me on. I've enjoyed my time on here. So thanks, guys.
No, we certainly appreciate it. You know, Denver, as we wrap things up here, we have to thank the marketing partners with TCM. There's a whole list that we'll bring up on the screen here. Big thanks to Paul from Vidane TV as he's getting ready for something to come up. Paul, what do you got coming up here? You got to scoot out of here so quick for.
I'm actually heading over to Talladega Super Speedway for Podium Esports, getting ready to do some pit reporting action for the Shenandoah Race of Champions. Kind of a who's who in the sim racing world. I know I use that term a lot, but a lot of big names in this particular field and this particular race. So check it out, Podium Esports over on Twitch, and I believe they stream on Facebook like we do here at Vidane TV. So I'm looking forward to it. They're the big dogs when it comes to sim racing broadcasting, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity.
You can see all of Tim's Corner Motorsports marketing partners online at timscorner.ca. If you want to help them out this season, help us out this season, you can also go there, get in touch with Tim. Tim's posted a few times, Denver. He's looking for new crew members for the TCM broadcast, whether it's helping out with camera work or maybe pushing buttons or doing this and doing that. We're always looking for teammates. We talk about teammates of the Alberas. We need new teammates this year too. So if you want to help out, you can reach out to really any of us and we'll get you in touch with the right people. Denver, it's been a lot of fun without the boss man here. He's cranky sometimes. Maybe we should do this again and get him on a plane or something.
Absolutely. Send them off somewhere, give them a little vacation, and we can take the reins and have some fun and talk some racing on a Wednesday night for sure.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Best of luck to Cory Hall, going to be appearing at the World Series of Asphalt, New Smyrna Speedway coming up. Believe the 11th Denver, the Pro Stock division gets rocking and rolling there. All the divisions, basically. I
think so. The 11th might be the practice day. And I think everything gets kicked off on the 12th, and I think it gets kicked off with a 200-lap NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour event on that Saturday. So I don't know if practice day is the 10th or the 11th, but it's somewhere around that. It's like 9 full days of racing and action on the track, and it's all going to be live on Flow Sports, I believe. It's the new broadcasting partner for NASCAR in the World Series and whatnot. So if you have a subscription to Flow Sports, you can check that out. And but there's lots of other events going to be going on, lots through Speed Sport. It's we're going to start to see it. It's going to start to ramp up down south, and slowly race season's going to work its way up. It'll be May here before we know it. We'll be hearing those engines roar. Yeah, well, we're freezing and shoveling snow up here in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island. We'll have the Clash to entertain us this weekend. World Series the weekend after that. Speed Week. It's not Speed Weeks anymore, Daytona. It's Speed Week with ARCA and the trucks and Xfinity, of course, the Daytona 500. And then, we really start to get the ball rolling here for a lot of stuff. If you want to recap some of the stuff that we covered tonight, of course, you can watch this again on Bedane TV and Tim's Corner Motorsports. We talked a little Maritime League of Legends with the executives, the schedule, the Atlantic Modified Tour schedule is out, and for all the info you need to know, you can find it at timscorner.ca. Greg, thanks a lot for being here, being the social media guy, and just don't get thrown into any more baseball games, right?
Let's see what we can do. Tim wanted me to let you know that you were fired, I think. So.
Well, he should be on a plane. He should be on a plane. What's he doing?
He was before he got on the plane. He sent me. This is a while ago. I've been holding on to that all show. I wanted to make sure you finished. So
okay, well, I'll go. There's a tear in my beer, so I'll make sure it goes over there. I want to thank everyone for watching as always. Hey, if you want to pull a Tayler here and you want to be on the show, just send us a message and we'll get it all lined up. Believe we'll be back again next Wednesday, Denver. I believe Tim will be joining us. I think he kind of hinted that he may be able to join us from the Sunshine State or North Kakalaki or wherever the heck he's going. We'll cross that bridge once we get there, right?
Yeah, as long as he doesn't get, stuck in an airplane or snowed in or something. Allegedly, we're going to see him back next week, but he'll be joining us from a little bit closer to the equator. So that'll be fun. He'll have gotten to probably see some races by that point, and I'm sure he'll have some stories to share from whatever he's got going on here for the next couple of weeks. He's in a better spot than we are. It's they can go racing. They're gonna the Daytona 500, Dylan, sold out. And how's your hockey team?
They're winning. They're winning. They won 7-1 last night.
They're back playing again.
They're back playing again.
There you go. So we're just
Tim could have saw them last night. They played in New Jersey last night.
Are you talking NHL or your South Shore Lumberjacks?
Oh, well, you know what? Hopefully resuming soon. We got the schedule just dropped, so
get back.
You said my team. My team's the Maple Leafs. Anyways, we're hoping
that's my team too.
We're hoping that a lot of things get restarted here with New Brunswick loosening their COVID restrictions. Nova Scotia's not far behind. It's been a rough go. A lot of families going through tough times, but we're strong. We're Maritimers. We're going to get through it, and hopefully we get out of this hole here real soon so we can have some fun again. For everyone here for TCM, we're going to wrap things up here, and I'm going to use a different quote to wrap it up. When Tim told us his negative COVID test came in, keep the hammer down, and we'll see you on the tarmac. We'll talk to you next week, folks. Thanks a lot for joining us here on TCM Live.